Hi, just like now. Hello, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Kansas City Oasis. My name is Julie Samuel Listman, and it's my pleasure to be your host this morning. For all of us that are here on the Zoom call, and then those that are joining us on Facebook Live or might stream this later, welcome. We know that you have the ability to choose wherever you want to be on a Sunday morning. A lot of times it's still sleeping, but we're so pleased that you've decided to share your morning with us today. We're a little bit more about Kansas City Oasis. We're a secular humanist community that gathers around our 5 values, which are people are more important than beliefs, reality is known through reason, human hands solve human problems, meaning comes from making a difference, and be accepting and be accepted. We have a great lineup today. Joining us is what I like to call an Oasis returning champion, Kelly Hunt, who was just telling us about all the various venues that she's joined us at. And even during the pandemic, we've gotten to see her virtually. So she'll be joining us this morning. Our community moment will be by Brittany Rhodes. And our featured speaker today is Sarah Geelan, one of our board members, who I will give an embarrassing introduction to here in just a few minutes. But without any further ado, let's turn it over to Kelly. Right. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. It's so good to be here. Thanks for having me. All right, I'll do a new tune called Everything Has Its Time. Where the morning breaks, but I'm slow to wake, for the day is heavy. Well, it's back I'll go into the push and pull, but I am not ready. When the time is right, I'll know. Where the roses of June, they have budded and bloomed, and perfume the morning. But the high-hot sun will claim everyone without warning. Everything has its time, and I've been taking mine real slow. Every season of life has a setting in and a letting go. Everything has its time. Well, love's first light burns high and bright, and it's all consuming. And you and I, we were trial by fire, now we're embers burning. Everything has its time, I've been taking mine real slow. Every season of life, there's a setting in and a letting go. Everything has its time. A time to seek and a time to find, a time to heed and to pay no mind, a time to dance and a time to mourn, a time to take a chance, take shelter from the storm, a time to reap and a time to sow, a time to ebb and a time to flow, a time to yearn, a time to see, a time to burn and to fade away. Everything has its time, I've been taking mine real slow. Every season of life is a setting in and a letting go. Everything has its Everything has its time. 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 Thank you. Nice to air that one out. First time. It's my little 100-year-old tenor banjo. Doesn't like to stay in tune, so we'll see. Here's a song called Sunshine Long Overdue. Oh no, don't turn your face away from the haggard light of day. The sun rose and so missed you. Gone are the shadows of the night. Put out the artificial lights that in day's absence have to do. So long was the night, but it passed by you, and the sunshine is long overdue. Oh, tell me, what's the thought that plagues your mind? Is it that you've run out of time? Is it that you're no good? Oh, believe me, friend, I understand. You're tethered to the second hand. You feel its every move. So much awaits you, and the sunshine is long overdue. Oh, friend, let me lighten up your load. Let me walk you down that road, show you a world so sweet. You've had your eyes strained on the sky, been tracking that storm cloud for miles. You've missed the flowers at your feet. So much beauty surrounds you, and the sunshine, oh, it's long overdue.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I'm gonna, before I let you slip away here, I meant to ask you, we were talking right before the program about you had your first in-person event
Yes, last night.
So tell us how that feels and tell us,
so good.
yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time. That's the first kind of full public set we've done in many, many months, and so I just felt like I was waking up again. And part of me woke up that had been sleeping for a long time. It's yeah, very hopeful feeling to see people's faces and feel that energy and
Have more than one set of hands clapping at a time, because Zoom messes that up if everybody clapped at once. So
sure. Imagine a lot more with Zoom, that people are out there and that you're actually connecting, you know.
Now I have questions about the banjo. I didn't until you were like, it's 100 years old. So tell us, like, how did you get the banjo and a little bit of the history of it?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up around music and grew up singing and in a very musical household, but actually got my first banjo probably 7 years ago. I have an uncle who lives in Mountain View, Arkansas, and plays bluegrass, you know, Scruggs style 5-string banjo. Mm-hmm. And I remember going down there as a kid, an adolescent, and hearing him play and just kind of being enamored with the banjo. And it's just had such a distinctive voice. And so it always kind of stuck with me. Got my first banjo yeah, and then when I moved to Kansas City 6 years ago, somebody approached me with a tenor banjo, which I'd never even really heard of. And the tenor is just four strings, and
Oh,
a
okay.
lot of the tenors were made in the 1920s. That was kind of the heyday of
Wow.
the tenor banjo. So I have two identical twin banjos from the 1920s that are
Wow.
tenors, and that just kind of spoke to me. I don't know. So most of my first record is recorded on the tenor, and then I also play the five string though, and just kind of feels like my spirit instrument. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. And I
Yeah,
have more
sure.
questions after the break. When we come back, I have more burning
Maybe I
questions
have
that I
answers.
want to ask you. Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks again for joining us this morning. We
Yeah, my
really are
pleasure.
happy to see you again. Okay, and so with that, I am going to introduce Brittany. How are you this morning?
I'm here. I'm in my newly claimed office that looks like it's a proof of life video, but I promise I am well cared for and everything is fine here.
Okay. So I have to say, and I sort of was trying to be short during this, I picked this shirt today in honor of you, my friend. I decided that this was the correct shirt to introduce Brittany, who is a kindness activist,
Militant kindness activist.
relative kindness activist. Okay.
Militant.
Oh, militant. I thought you said relative. Yeah, it's all relative. No, militant kindness activist. I know I was missing something there. When we asked Brittany for 3 words to describe herself, it was coffee, puns, and naps. I love all 3 of those things as well. And her warning label, if she had one, would be warning, anything could happen or not. With that, let's turn attention to Brittany.
Hello, good morning, my friends. I love seeing all of your happy faces. I was saying before we started the recording, like, I'm just happy to be talking to people on a Sunday about something other than work, which is very nice for me. So that's why I'm from home, and I didn't even brush my hair. This is just my fancy headband for all of you, because we're all friends here. And I'm happy to see people, when I'm working, usually I'm around people who are fully masked. And so I've been complimenting everyone on their chins. You all have fabulous chins today. I'm so impressed by you all. I'm going to talk to you about podcasts, because nothing makes more sense than being on Zoom call than to talk about podcasts. So talking heads floating in the ether just kind of seems to be the theme of this time that we're in. I'm probably not the first person to say that podcasts are a very good hobby. I really enjoy podcasts. I started to make like a slide deck, a PowerPoint about my podcast, and then I realized that that felt a little too formal for something that I enjoy so much. That was going to take away some of the fun. So I listen to a lot of podcasts a lot of the time. I think I currently listen to or am subscribed to 111 podcasts. I listen for hours a day while doing as much as humanly possible. And I love talking about podcasts, so much so that when we had the Oasis conference a few years back, we were hanging out at a bar having dinner, and some of us started talking about podcasts together. We said, hey, you know what we should do? We should have a book club, but for podcasts. And so we actually started a little Facebook group that's the unofficial Oasis podcast listening club. And we had talked about, like, hey, every week we'll pick a theme and one person will pick an episode, then we'll all listen to the episode, then we'll share it. But it turns out that coordinating adult schedules and having conversations is complicated. I don't know if you've all found that, but trying to find a time to work, and plus to get a podcast that everyone was interested in. And so we were like, well, let's try one episode. What it then turned into was Will Manning and myself. We would dial up a podcast recorder, and he and I would listen to one podcast and then compare notes. We've recorded, I think, 12 or 15 episodes. We haven't released any of them. Apparently, that's not the point of recording a podcast, is sharing it with anybody. But it's been enjoyable for me to, get to talk to other people about a thing that we listened to and we shared. So anytime anyone wants to discuss podcasts, please let me know. I get very excited about an episode that I think could help somebody. I'm that person that, like, when I hear an episode, I go, oh, that reminds me of, and then I'll send it to somebody, and then usually they don't listen to it, and then I never hear about it again, but I feel good in that moment that I thought of you and I sent you a podcast. I also just started doing a stereo. It's called stereo.com is the app. Basically, it's like anybody can be on the radio using that app, and it's you and at least one other person, or you can do like chat roulette style and just talk to a random stranger. I've actually started doing that with my mom. My mom is a pretty cool person, and I enjoy talking to her. So I thought, it would be great having other people listen to us talk to ourselves. So we started doing that last week, and we're going to do it again. But I really do just want to encourage you, if you haven't gotten into podcasts, ask me and I will find one for you, because I have a lot of them. One of the things I like most about podcasts is I live with intrusive thoughts and some obsessive thinking behaviors. And what I found is that by curating podcasts that feel good in my brain is basically how I phrase it, that I don't go in for the true crime. I don't go into a lot of the, murder mystery sort of things, because I feel that they don't feel good. I wear headphones when I listen to my podcast, and somehow that information is too close to my brain, like it's too much information between my head when I'm wearing headphones. But I've curated lists that feel good for different experiences. So I have a series of podcasts that I listen to help me fall asleep. One of them is called Nothing Much Happens, which I just absolutely recommend for anybody who needs just like a calm, soothing. If you've ever, fallen asleep while someone was reading you a story, it feels like that. The reader and the person who produces the podcast also writes and reads all the stories. And what I like about it is that she reads it through one time, just calmly, very slow, and it calms your brain. And she tells you the same story again, but even slower. So your brain is already like filling in the gaps, and it helps you relax and go to sleep. And so that's an absolute favorite of mine. And then there's also one that's called Sleep With Me podcast. And this guy tells the most boring stories possible. It's amazing how he does it. And so your brain just goes, I don't care, and shuts off and goes to bed. It's really great. If you're like me and have sometimes trouble, soothing the loud parts inside the head. And then I have some daily podcasts that I listen to. You'd be surprised to learn, if you're a podcast fan, that I don't listen to the daily. Of all of the daily podcasts, that's not one of them I do. Part of that is because I listen to so many other podcasts that end up referencing the daily that I found I was getting the same information like multiple times per day. And so I just took that one out. But I'm going to share my screen real quick, if that's okay, and going to share my my current podcast list. Let's see if I can click buttons and talk at the same time. So I use an app called Pocket Casts. They have a web player and they have an app. These are my 111 that I currently listen to. I also listen at 1.8 speed. I found that 2 speed was too fast, so I backed it down. I actually started at regular speed, and then I was like trying to get through all of this information, and so I went to 1.1, 1.2. It's kind of like getting into a cold bath, or should probably be a hot bath, and just adjusting it a little bit at a time. But these are the podcasts I listen to. I have them sorted alphabetically currently, so not ranked in any particular way. But for me, it helps to know the structure of what's going to happen in these. So if I know that, like in aria code, I really enjoy that one where they break down one aria from an opera. I know nothing about opera. I want to be the kind of person who knows something about opera, so I listen to aria code. They take one song and they have experts and they talk about it and they break it down, and then you get to hear performance at the end. It's very, I don't know, it makes me feel smart listening to it, which is nice. And I find that I'm able to pull pieces of information from each different thing and connect it to another thing. So some of my favorites are basically experts, of somebody who knows something way more than I do and can speak eloquently about it. I can talk a lot, but not well. So having people who like on ologies with Allie Ward, I mean, it's like one of the #1 science podcasts. So this is probably not a new recommendation for a lot of people, but the interviewer, Allie Ward, just the way she talks to people is amazing. She's excited about things. She's talking to people about, what they're passionate about. And I think we all know that excitement that you get when you hear somebody who's excited about something, that you get to be excited about it too. I also really like things that are related to things I already know about. So I have a background in culinary management. I've been a chef. I run a food pantry. So food podcasts entertain me quite a bit because people have different opinions about things. And then I go, oh, how could you possibly think that that was true about, this recipe or that? So some of my food podcasts are different that way. The Sporkful is, again, a really popular one, just like Recipe Club. But one of the ones that's less well known is called Preheated, and I think they've stopped production recently. But it's a pair of friends. One lives in Seattle and one lives, I want to say, in London. And they bake the same recipe each week, and then they get together and then they talk about it. And I think that that's just a fascinating way to get a snippet of somebody else's world. And then when Kelly was playing, she played the banjo, and of course my favorite line is, I'm a fanjo of the banjo. So one of my favorite bands is We Banjo 3, and one of their musicians has a podcast called Inside the Banjoverse, and he interviews other banjo players and musicians, and it's fascinating because I am not a musician. I am just a musician appreciator, so that works well in my brain. I also like knowing a lot about unnecessary topics, so I have a lot of trivia podcasts in here. Good Job Brain is one of my favorites, and so is No Such Thing as a Fish, which is done by the researchers of a British panel show called QI, quite interesting. And these are people who are behind the scenes coming up with the interesting facts that they ask people about, and then they talk about it and they entertain themselves. And nothing is more entertaining to me than other people entertaining each other. So when they make each other laugh, it's very entertaining. And I need to stop using that word because I need to have a different word for entertaining, except that it feels good in my brain and I like it. There's also some in here that are parenting related or parenting adjacent. I do have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, so I barely know what I'm doing most days with them, so it's nice to hear other people talk about. They don't know what they're doing in parenting either. That makes me feel good also. The Double Shift is not a parenting podcast, but it is about motherhood in America specifically. And another one that's really great with that too is Zen Parenting Radio, which I say I strive to be the Zen center of the universe, but I fail consistently. Their tagline is, the best predictor of a child's well-being is a parent's self-understanding. And I found that for me, some of the insights that they share are just really helpful. Some of it for me is a little hippy-dippy. It's a little too, I call them crystal lickers. I know that's not kind, but every now and then they get a little too into the spirituality stuff for me, so I tend to skip those. But a lot of their stuff is very relatable in my life. Another one I want to point out is We Were Christian Kids with our recurring Oasis, Calvin Arsinia. He's one of the co-hosts on that. And he and his friend talk about their experiences of growing up Christian, what it was like to be gay in the church and have it closeted. And they talk to each other about their deconversion processes. And it's just fascinating. So I get to hear other people's experiences outside of my own and then relate it to things that I know. And then if you've ever been in a social situation with me, you'll know that I'll bring it up eventually, that I heard it on a podcast. And I do talk about these people like they're my friends because I spend so much time with them. I know if Will is watching this, he's going to be surprised that it took me this long to get to TBTL, Too Beautiful to Live. This is a daily podcast by a couple of guys in the Pacific Northwest who just talk about stuff. They've been running for 3,000 episodes. They're a daily podcast. They usually run about 1 to 3 hours, and that's one that I don't miss. I'm what's called a time bandit in that community because I'm usually behind. I I don't listen daily when they release it, but the way they talk relates to things that I'm familiar with, and then they bring in different perspectives. And every now and then they make me want to throw my phone across the room because I feel like they're so off base, but then I come back to them because they're pretty similar to what my experience is as well. And then there's some ones that I listen to just because I want to feel smart. So I tend to pretend to be a philosophy sort of person, or a literature sort of person. I'm not in real life, but I try to be. So I have some philosophy podcasts. The Daily Stoic is one that I listen to regularly. There's also Nakedly Examined Music and The Partially Examined Life. I enjoyed those. And then like my Shakespeare ones, the Chop Bard does analysis of Shakespeare. And I also have some Bible history and things like that, because I find now that I am no longer in religion as a requirement of my life, I find it interesting to go back and hear other people's analysis of, the stories and where they come from and what they get out of the Bible, or their religious experience. And related to that too is Good Christian Fun, which is it's a couple of friends in Los Angeles who talk about Christian pop culture, and they usually bring on a guest and do some analysis of it, and they make a lot of fun of it in a very kind way, because like I said, these things have to feel good in my head. So I tend to not listen to anything that takes itself too seriously. There are some serious topics, but I try to not let that stop me from enjoying my listening. So those are 111 podcasts that I listen to, and then I have about 500 more that I've gone through in the past 10 years that I've listened to podcasts regularly, and would love to have conversations with anybody about podcasts anytime, because it's one of two hobbies I make time for. One of them is naps, and the other one is podcasts. So if I somehow find an hour to myself, I will probably put my headphones on, put on a podcast, do some dishes, clean up the mess around the small children, and then I will keep the same podcast on and then lay down and fall asleep to it. So yeah, let's see some questions in the chat.
Yeah, so what's the name again of the one that you and Will do together?
The one that Will and I do is, we've decided to call it the unofficial podcast of anything, but we haven't released any of them yet. Maybe this will be the public shaming that Will needs to do the editing. I also am not the technological person. I'm happy to be a social media hype person, and producer type who can arrange the things, but he's the one that actually has the editing skill. So I'm waiting on him to edit, and then we will release. And then on the stereo app, my mom and I are doing one that's called Hey Mom, and she and I just basically, we talk to each other every other day, and this is just a way for you to listen in on basically the conversations of where she's lecturing me about things in a very kind and loving, motherly way. You can get the same lectures as well.
Oh, that's nice. Some of us, don't have moms to lecture, so I think that is a super useful service that you're putting out in the world. A good mom lecture every so often. Sometimes I just have to give it to myself. It works. It works sometimes. Thank you so much for sharing your passion for podcasts with us.
You got it. Anytime you want it, I'm ready.
Okay, and I saw one on there, amongst the rows and rows, I saw the one from Mark Bittman, who we had join us a few weeks ago. So I was like,
yeah,
podcast. He has a podcast too, not just books. So anybody that enjoyed his conversation, maybe check out his podcast as well. So. Okay, I feel like, and I did miss some announcements and some celebrations, so I'll do that right before we go into our coffee break this morning. Something we have ongoing, and I'm sorry, but this was something I set up and then haven't done a very good job publicizing, is we are raising funds to donate to the Veterans Home Project, and we're going to get a brick with Kansas City Oasis name on it in honor of our veterans that have served. You can donate to that if you want to specifically earmark a donation to that. You can go to kcoasis.org, go to the donate section, It'll take you over to Simple Give, which will let you select the brick, the Veterans Home Project as where you would like to direct your donation. So that's one thing that we have going on. Sarah reminded me that we also have yard signs available if you want to show some love to a fellow Oasian that's going through something fantastic or something challenging. Those are available, and there's a donation around that as well if you'd like to do that. You can reach out to Sarah for the details and to schedule that, and she might be put something in the chat there. For celebrations, we have some birthdays this week. Jordan Tillman's birthday is today. Cecil Daniel will turn 40 on the 13th, so maybe show him some over the hill love via Facebook this week. And Janet Grimes' birthday is on the 17th, so maybe use your social media to give them a little shout out and a congratulations for this latest trip around the sun. We know this last year has been challenging. Some people are going into their second birthdays in sort of restricted gathering protocols, so I'm sure they could use that love. Back to community moments. Mark Dixon is scheduling community moments into August. So from August, it looks like from August 1st on, he's looking for people to share something with their community. So if you haven't had a chance to do a community moment ever or in the last 6 months, please reach out to Mark Dixon and he will get you on the schedule for that. And so with that, I will move us into our breakout rooms. We're going to do a couple big rooms today, I think, and I will see you back in about 10 minutes.
When were you going to go in?
I'm not.
Where do you go in?
I have no idea.
What's this? What is the one?
I didn't even look.
Don't feel like chatting with anybody.
Huh?
I don't feel like chatting with anybody.
No, I didn't want to mess with it.
What?
Huh?
You're on speaker. You can't hear.
Yeah, I did.
You might
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the main room. I'm happy to see you. We are going to, once Kelly gets back. Hey, Kelly, just real quick. Sometimes when you go to a breakout room and come back, it makes your original sound setting do something weird. So if you could just look and see if it looks the same as before. Oh, you're muted. There you
Okay,
go.
it tells me original sound on, which is what it should, right?
Yep, Terry's giving me a thumbs up, so
All
yes.
right, awesome, yay!
Before you get started, besides your performance last night, do you have anything upcoming or a place that we can keep track of you online to see where you'll be performing next?
Yes, my website is the best place, kellyhuntmusic.com,
Okay.
Kelly, and let's see, I do have a couple like private house concert type things coming up this month, but then next month I will be at the Kaw River Roots Fest. It's a new music festival happening in the Lawrence area. Yeah, so that'll be at the end of August, and then there's a couple other shows we'll be announcing for August soon, and a kind of house concert songwriter swap that will be not this coming weekend, but the following weekend, and that is kind of a house concert setting, but it's open to the public. So,
nice.
Yeah, my website's the best place, and
Okay.
Facebook too.
Thank you, Ross. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I'm gonna do a tune that came out of quarantine, and it's called "If I Was a Nightingale." It's 25 miles as the night bird flies from here to where he lay, and it's 2 hours time from the dead of night to the dawning of the day, Lord, the dawning of the day. And if I was a nightingale, I'd soar clear o'er these hills and find the window open wide, and I'd watch over him, Lord, till the burning stars grew dim. I'd watch over him. And if I was a morning dove, I'd roost upon his sill, and there to him I'd sing my love. I'd coo to him at will, oh, I'd coo to him at will. And if I was a blithe sparrow, I'd find a strong headwind, and I'd follow him where he goes to the end and back again. Oh, I would follow him to the end and back again. It's 25 miles as the night bird flies from here to where he lay, and for but 2 hours by his side I'd trade my length of days, Lord, I'd trade my length of days, oh, I'd trade my length of days,
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Well, I can't wait to get to see your final performance for us.
Yes.
And again, everybody can find Kelly and what she is up to at kellyhuntmusic.com. So keep an eye out for that. I'm sure you will see us in the months ahead. So.
Oh, I would love that.
And yeah, we're going to talk next about our return to, what our potential return to in-person roadmap is. So hopefully you will do us the honor of joining us once we're in person again. It's always lovely to see you. Thank you.
Likewise.
Okay, with that, it is my great honor to introduce our featured speaker. I'm going to try to make her laugh so she's not nervous. Sarah Gielan will be presenting our pandemic protocols. Sarah is currently in her third year of serving Kansas City Oasis on its board of directors. She heads up our social committee. She's our merch manager and does countless other labors of love for our community. Most relevantly, today, she is currently hard at work leading the search for our new home for Kansas City Oasis, and she'll get to talk about that. So besides her career with the state of Missouri Probation and Parole, Sarah enjoys live music, art shows, drinking porters and stouts, and wrangling her tiny dog, Missy, and her less tiny cat, Pez. She is the Bert to my Ernie and has done so much to keep me connected in the past 16 months. And when I call shenanigans, she says when. It is my pleasure to introduce Sarah, who we'll let her chat a bit, and then we'll share some slides. Hello.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So I'm going to go over the pandemic protocols that we came up with. The board came up with them, and then we sent them to some actual health experts to go over them to see if they thought that would work. We will post everything. So if you have things to do today, by all means, we're going to post everything that you see here in the private group. So you'll be able to see all these things. I want to say, and I know everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people are going to the memorial service today. So we'll try to keep this short. Before we start, I want to say that, everybody was looking forward to being done with this. And, we've been dealing with this pandemic stuff for so long now. And it was kind of like a light at the end of the tunnel. And last week, 2 weeks ago, my coworker went to a Father's Day thing with her family. And 8 people that were there, all 8 of them got very, very ill. And they thought it was the flu. They thought it was this, that, whatever. And it turned out that even though all of them were vaccinated, they were all positive for COVID. It took a while. I guess they're not following up with testing to find out if it's the Delta variant or not in Missouri. But her sister is in Kansas and they do follow up, and it takes a few weeks. So they just confirmed that it was the Delta variant. So it seems that we're not out of the woods yet, and they were all very sick, lost their taste and smell, and all of that. So it was very surprising. I mean, I knew it was a possibility, but that just hit really close to home. And I'm thinking that the symptoms would be lesser, and I suppose it, nobody ended up in the hospital or anything like that, but the symptoms were a lot more severe than I would have anticipated. But anyway, so leading in with that, just to let you know that we took all that into consideration, and this is more moderate than what we would have hoped for at this time. Okay. So in light of many other organizations and businesses reopening, the leadership at Kansas City Oasis will be following the guidelines set forth by the CDC and WHO. All community members, volunteers, and visitors will be required to follow the mitigation protocols put in place. Failure to do so will result in being asked to leave the Kansas City Oasis sponsored event until the individual is willing and able to comply with said protocols. Most people infected with the COVID-19 virus will experience mild to moderate respiratory illness and recover without requiring special treatment. Older people and those with underlying medical problems like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, chronic respiratory disease, and cancer are more likely to develop serious illness. The best way to prevent and slow down transmission is to be well informed about COVID-19 virus, the disease it causes, and how it spreads. Protect yourself and others from infection by washing your hands or using an alcohol-based rub frequently and not touching your face. So this is what we put about vaccinations, and it goes with our what is it called? I forgot. Anyway, with our motto, our
Values. Yep.
what's it called? Values. That's it. Sorry. I can't remember what it's called. Reality is known through reason. In accordance with our core value, reality is known through reason. The Kansas City Oasis Board of Directors encourages all community members to become fully vaccinated when it becomes available to them. Human hands solve human problems. It is strongly encouraged that any community member that wishes to participate in-person gatherings become fully vaccinated before attending any KC Oasis sponsored events. Meaning comes from making a difference. To be fully vaccinated means 2 weeks after their second dose in a 2-dose series, such as the Pfizer or Moderna vaccines, or 2 weeks after a single dose vaccine, such as Johnson & Johnson and Janssen vaccine. To be vaccinated does not mean that you are 100% immune, as we just discussed. If you're feeling ill, have been recently ill, or anyone in your household is or has been, regardless if you have been tested for COVID-19, please do not attend any in-person events for at least 2 weeks after initial illness. This is for the health and safety of our community. A negative COVID test is not a guarantee that you are not infected with the virus. Contact tracing. So at all of our events, we will have a contact tracing sheet just to make sure that we're able to notify everyone and keep track of what's going on. That includes all volunteers, guests, community members, anybody that's at any of our events.
I would just point out too that, yeah, we'll only use it. It'll be kept confidential, and we won't, even if someone does test positive, we wouldn't tell you who it is. We would just say you've potentially been in contact with someone that has tested positive.
And all of these things, I mean, this is not new to anybody, obviously. It's just that we felt like we needed to have it in writing and have the expectations out there. And, you know, everybody's kind of doing something a little bit different, but we just wanted to make sure that we had it out there. But none of this is going to be mind-blowing to anyone. It's all stuff that you've heard all along, basically. We will continue to facilitate a virtual Sunday gathering that will run concurrently with in-person gatherings once we start in-person gatherings. The virtual program will be available on Zoom and Facebook Live. Recordings will be made available on YouTube within 2 weeks of the initial program, allegedly. Attendees are required to follow the guidelines set out in the Kansas City Oasis Policy Handbook in regards to conduct during organization-sponsored events, as well as guidance set forth for COVID protocols. Childcare, Sunday gathering childcare. This is all for when we get back into, and this could change depending on when we start meeting in person. We might have to update some things, but as of now, this is where it stands. Kansas City Oasis will continue to provide childcare upon the restart of in-person Sunday gatherings. Protocols for signing in children will resume and will also serve as contact tracing in the event of a positive test. All children will be required to wear a mask while in Kansas City Oasis childcare unless they're under 2. When vaccinations become available for minors, all children will be required to be vaccinated before returning to the childcare room. Parents or guardians will need to provide proof of the vaccination. Okay, masks at all types of in-person gatherings are required outdoors and indoors. This is to ensure that all attendees are protected regardless of vaccination status. Masks must be worn over the mouth and nose. Face shields do not qualify. Children under 2 are exempt. Failure to comply will call for the removal from the event. Volunteers must be fully vaccinated and able to show proof of vaccination. Volunteers must agree to uphold the sanitation protocols while actively volunteering for a KC Oasis event, and COVID-19 volunteer agreement form will be released at a later date. This is a kind of an estimated timeline of what we're looking at in the future. We've got a park cleanup scheduled for this month, I think on the 22nd, Julie?
I think it's two weeks from today, so the 25th.
Okay, so we'll post that. We'll make an event if there's not one already. We're planning on trying to do a drive-in movie and come up with a family-friendly event, which social committee hasn't met for a while, but we had some lists that we came up with. Since we're requiring masks at all Kansas City Oasis events, we're trying to come up with things that are a little bit more spaced out and outdoors, possibly in less, bars or restaurants, that kind of thing. So we'll be working on that. Same thing, August, we'll hopefully have some social events in August. Community groups start in September. And at this time, community groups can be in person, but you will still be required to wear a mask. The SAS Walk is in September also. And then hopefully in October and November, we will have a place by then and can start meeting in person. I have been looking, I've toured several places. There are certain issues that are coming up. One is if I find a place that is working, they are not necessarily zoned for assembly. That's one thing. We found several cool places that don't have air conditioning, so that's another thing. So if you know of someplace or you see, you're driving around and you see someplace and you think, oh, that'd be a good place for Oasis, send that to me or Julie, because we're trying to keep a list and we're trying to go to a lot of places, and I've seen several and there's some good potential out there, but there's a lot of obstacles. Also ADA acceptable, there's just certain little things that we have to look for, and price, obviously. So if you see something, make sure you send that to me so that we can check it out if it's in the Kansas City area, Kansas City, Missouri area. Anyway, so that's the good news. Our estimated plan to start meeting in person is hopefully around October and November. That will 100% depend on whether we find a place. So, and all this is subject to change as far as if the Delta variant ends up being, if CDC or the WHO changes their protocols based on the new variant or whatever, we will change accordingly. So, but as of right now, this is what's going to be required is masks and contact tracing, and we highly recommend vaccinations. And that is basically it. We will post these links on the private page.
Okay. All right. So how cool could here's Gary's comment in the chat. How cool can a place be without AC? So we got a dad joke to go along with that. Thank you, Gary.
It was aesthetically as cool as you can imagine. It was absolutely perfect for what we needed, except it didn't have AC.
Yeah.
So
we'll get there. So the other thing that I would say is, it has been our expectation all along, especially after when we close down, that we want to return to a space that can be ours all day, every day. It just opens up a lot more possibilities for what we can do as a community. So that would be another criteria. We're not really looking to rent just an event space weekly. That would be sort of a very, very last option. We really want our own home so we can have it the way we want it, and we can do the things we want to do without any time constraints. And that also just lends itself to the ask that we make of our volunteers. If we had a place that we can leave set up every week, we can leave childcare set up all the time. It's less wear and tear on all of us if to find this permanent home. So, oh, and Gary's now saying you'll need air conditioning 2 or 3 months a year. So by October, it'll be plenty cool in there. And
well, and honestly, that was the realtor's point too. Is but you could go ahead and rent it now and then pay for AC to be put in. You would have time to fundraise and whatever. But so the other thing is it doesn't have to be a perfect space. We've got the manpower and the knowledge that we can turn it into whatever we need it to be. So it doesn't have to be, already perfect.
Not looking for perfect, yeah.
Be rough, but it needs to be ADA. If not ADA, then at least has to have. Let's just say it has to be ADA.
Yes, yeah.
Ability to have that done.
Yes, or easily make it accessible.
And the whole assembly thing was something that I hadn't even considered, and then it came up from 2 different realtors, and then one of the spaces that was really great that I had asked that realtor about it, and he said, oh, that's not really a thing. Nobody really cares about that. These spaces down here are for anything. You can do whatever you want with them. Mm-hmm. And I brought it up again with some other realtors that we were looking at spaces, and they're like, I don't know why he's telling you that, but the fire marshal will shut you down, and all this stuff. And it was like, so we're getting conflicting information, but we're going to err on the side of caution every time. So
well, and I can do some research on what the city requirements are, just so if it's something that we can, if it's something that we just need to get into compliance to be there and get permit or whatever it takes, or maybe a fire marshal inspection to say, yeah, this space can hold this many people. We can do that work too. So, okay, and just I don't have a treasurer's report, but we do. We have now about. Well, maybe we'll talk about that in an open board meeting. But we have a good amount of funds that we have collected over the past 16 months from not paying rent that we will be able to put towards whatever space. So at this time, we don't really need any. We don't need any specific earmarked monetary donations for this to get us started. But like Sarah mentioned, there might be things that come up along the road that we would do a fundraising drive for. But initially, just to get a place leased and whatever, we're in good financial shape for that. So I just wanted to reassure everybody of that fact until our next board meeting, or the next time I post our financials. I'll be a little more specific around that. So,
humorous side note. While we were touring one of the buildings, the realtor, I was telling him that I said, yeah, we used to be at the Uptown, and he's like, is that still being run by Larry? And I said, yes. And he was like, oh, yeah, he's hard to work with or something like that. I said, yes, I was the contact person on that.
He was our
previous landlord has a reputation around town as being very eccentric, which is accurate.
Yes. But if eccentric was a disqualifying characteristic at Kansas City Oasis, who would we have? We're all a little eccentric. So it kind of worked perfectly for us. So all right. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for that. And check out the private page for further information, and we'll post these the protocols as well. And again, open to comments on that if anybody has any. Again, not anything too surprising. And as you know, since reality is sort of our watchword here, this might be more conservative than you expected, based on the fact that many of us are vaccinated. But we have to consider our children and those among us that are unable to get vaccinated. So of course we're going to do what's in the best interest for the community as a whole. So that's sort of our founding philosophy there. So okay. With that, I'll just remind everyone, like I said, we did talk a little bit about donations. We have that Veterans Memorial, Veterans Home Project memorial brick that we're working on raising funds for. But also, if you want to make any kind of donation, you can go to kcoasis.org, search for donate, and it's pretty simple. We'll walk you right through it. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. Just as Sarah mentioned, we also have in our community going on today a memorial potluck for Cinta Hirschberger. That will be at Enchanted Oaks over in Basehor, I think is the best city description for that. If you have, or Bonner Springs, I'm so sorry, not Basehor, Bonner Springs. If you have any questions about that, the details are in the private page, or you can ping me and let me know if you need some directions or some help getting over there. So with that, we will turn it back to Kelly for our final performance of the day.
All right.
There we go.
Thank you again for welcoming me back, and it's been a pleasure. I'm going to do another new tune for you. It's called Requiem for a Sleepless Night. I fell so high from my ivory tower. All my high ideals couldn't break my fall. Been lying here for what feels like hours. So it's been no time at all. This is the dark before the dawning. This is the night of the new moon. So the stars, for all their shining, cannot abate that deepest gloom. I've been waiting on the morning, what feels like years, or to fall asleep fast and deep and just forget I'm here. I try to focus on my breathing, to slow the beating in my chest. But if I know peace, no sweet release, not a moment's rest, the night is writhing like a serpent around my bed, and he twists my dreams and whispers things I can't get out of my head. And in my agony, hope finds me. Now it shines that feeble moon. So those shadows all benight me. She enlightens me anew. And in the twilight of the morning, as black slackens into blue, I keep my eyes fixed on the heavens. I keep my thoughts on you, you. This is a requiem for all my fears and all the doubts that have held me hostage here. Gonna lay to rest my old regrets. This is a requiem for you, my dear, and all the air that never did get cleared. Gonna clear it now, breathe it out. Gonna lay me down to sleep now. Feel, feel. So much.
Let's get you over here to where we can see everybody. I like to end by looking at who all is here with me this morning. Good morning, everybody that I haven't said hi to yet today. So as you go out and take on the world for the rest of the day, enjoy maybe a little, it's cloudy, but unseasonably cool, I would say today. So hopefully you get some time outside to enjoy that. With that, my name is Julie Samuel Westman. It's been my pleasure to host you all this morning, and we will see you soon. Take care. Let me find the button.